Hello, guys. Welcome to Passages 1, Unit 6b. What's a real story? In this unit, we are going to talk about adverbs with the simple past and past perfect. And also, we will see some expressions that we can use when telling a story. Let's begin. Adverbs with the simple past and past perfect. Adverbs of time help to clarify when an event or situation in the past happened in relation to another event or situation in the past. For example, we had breakfast at 7 o'clock a.m. Afterwards, we went for a walk. In this case, we have two situations, and afterwards is used to say after that, like first, we had breakfast at 7 o'clock a.m., and afterwards or after that, we went for a walk. Number two, when I got home, it started to rain. When is used to say the two actions or activities happened at the same time. Like in this case, the moment I got home, it started to rain. Number three, in 2015, I went to United States. Up until then, I had never traveled abroad. Travel abroad means to travel to another country that is not your country. So in this case, up until then is used to say before that, before that moment, before that time. Like in this case, I traveled in 2015. I traveled to United States. Up until then, or before that year, before that time, before that, before 2015, I had never traveled to another country. I had never traveled abroad. Use afterwards, later, and the next day with the simple past to describe something that happened at a later time. This is the formula that you need to follow. Subject plus past verb plus a complement plus a period, then an adverb. In this case, the adverbs are going to be afterwards, later, or the next day, plus a comma, plus a subject, plus a past verb, plus a complement. If you see, in this case, you have two sentences that are connected using adverbs. Adverbs of time. In this case, number one, he apologized to me. Afterwards, we became good friends again. In this case, we had a problem because my friend did something bad, but he apologized, meaning he said sorry. And because of that, we became friends again. So after that situation, he apologized, he says sorry, and we became friends again. So afterwards is like after that. Number two, she finished her homework. Later, she watched a movie on Netflix. In this case, probably she was doing the homework at 7 or 8 p.m. And after she finished the homework, she started watching a movie on Netflix, probably at 8 p.m. or 9, but later, after doing the homework. Number three, we arrived on Monday. The next day, we visited the museum. In this case, we traveled to another city or another country and we arrived on Monday. And the next day, which is Tuesday, we visit the museum. Use when, as soon as, and the moment with the simple past to describe two things that happen at the same time. For this, you need an adverb plus a comma plus a subject plus a past verb plus a complement plus another subject plus a past verb plus a complement. For example, when I opened my book, I found a beautiful note inside. As soon as she heard the baby cry, she ran upstairs. The moment she saw the spider, she screamed really loud. In this case, we use when, as soon as, and a moment to say that two things happen at the same time. And in this case, you can change the position. You can say, I found a beautiful note inside when I opened my book. She ran upstairs as soon as she heard the baby cry. She screamed really loud the moment she saw the spider. So you can change the position. And these are used to indicate that two things happen at the same time. Use up until then, before that, and until that time with the past perfect to describe something that was true or happened before another event in the past. For this, you need a subject plus a past verb plus a complement plus a period. After that, you need an adverb. In this case, the adverbs are going to be up until then, before that, and until that time, plus had, plus the past participle, plus the complement. In this case, we have example number one. I cooked my first meal in 2013. Until that time, I had never used a stove. In this case, I say that I cooked my first meal or my first dish in 2013. And until that time, I had never used a stove. It's like before that time, before that year, before 2013, I had never used a stove in my life. Number two, she became a teacher last year. Before that, she had worked for a bank. So last year, she became a teacher. But before being a teacher, she had another job or work. So she was a worker at a bank. And number three, we had our first baby 2 years ago. Up until then, we had never been responsible, meaning our first baby was born 2 years ago. Before we had our baby, we were not responsible. Useful phrases to begin a story. Use these phrases to start your story. They help introduce what happened. For example, I'll never forget the time. I'll never forget the time is used to talk about a special or memorable moment. For example, I'll never forget the time I met my favorite actor. Number two, it all started when. Used to say how the story began. For example, it all started when my flight was delayed. Number three, that reminds me of when is used to connect to another similar story. For example, that reminds me of when we missed the bus in Paris. Number four, I've got to tell you about is used to start a story you really want to share. For example, I've got to tell you about our trip to the mountains. Useful phrases to continue a story. Use these phrases to move your story forward, to talk about what happened next. For example, 1. What happened was is used to explain the main event. For example, what happened was we got on the wrong train. 2. Meanwhile, is used to describe something happening at the same time. For example, meanwhile, my friend was trying to call me. 3. The next thing we knew is used to show a quick or surprising change. For example, the next thing we knew, it started raining hard. 4. So later on is used to move to a later time in the story. For example, so later on, we finally found the hotel. Useful phrases to go back in a story. Use these phrases when you want to add information or go back to something you forgot. For example, 1. The thing you have to know is used to give important background. For example, the thing you have to know is I hate flying. 2. I forgot to mention that is used to add something you didn't say before. For example, I forgot to mention that my phone battery was dead. 3. The other thing is used to add one more piece of information. For example, the other thing is we didn't have any money for a taxi. Useful phrases to end a story. Use these phrases to finish your story and show the result. For example, 1. And in the end is used to say what finally happened. For example, and in the end, we laughed about the whole thing. 2. To make a long story short is used to summarize quickly. For example, to make a long story short, we missed the flight. 3. So finally is used to describe the last part or conclusion. For example, so finally we got home at midnight very tired. This is a short story example using some of the phrases that we saw to begin a story, to continue a story, to go back in a story, and to end the story. I'll never forget the time I got lost in London. It all started when I took the wrong bus after visiting the museum. Meanwhile, my friends were waiting for me at the cafe. The next thing we knew, my phone battery died and I couldn't call anyone. The thing you have to know is that it was my first time in the city, so I didn't know where to go. I forgot to mention that it was raining and I didn't have an umbrella. So finally, after walking for an hour, I found the cafe again and everyone cheered. And in the end, we all laughed about it. Well, guys, that was everything for today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time. Bye.